Greetings and welcome to the Chemical Burrito YouTube channel. We're going to take a look today at one of the mini handhelds that tried to compete with Nintendo's Game Boy and Game Boy Color and ultimately failed, the somewhat obscure Neo Geo Pocket Color. So, just a little history about this little handheld here. Basically, it's a color version of the Neo Geo Pocket that never actually got a release in the United States and worldwide, but SNK decided that the black and white version of this handheld was not going to be able to compete with the Game Boy Color, and so they came out with this, the Neo Geo Pocket Color, and it's a nice little handheld. It was released in America, at least, in August of 1999. And I guess, unfortunately for SNK, it was discontinued in the United States less than a year later. It's about 10 months later in June of 2000. And then it was discontinued in Japan itself for actually about another year in 2001. So this handheld only got 10 months of exposure in the United States. Ended up getting 73 games, although there were a couple of bigger names on here like Sonic the Hedgehog. And of course Namco's Pac-Man also showed up on here, as well as a bunch of SNK games. But 73 games. We in the US got only about 30 or so of them. Of those, I have 7, so not a huge collection, but I have a few to play around with. This handheld, like I said, very short-lived, but was still a very interesting device. Let's take a look at the handheld. We'll look at the menus in just a minute. I have a tour through the menus, and you will love, if you've never heard this before, you will love the menu music of the Neo Geo Pocket Color. I challenge you to keep it out of your head after you've heard it for a little while. But as you can see, the device here, how big is it? Yeah, for scale, it's about 5 inches wide and about, a little over 3 inches tall. It's actually pretty thick. It's actually over an inch thick, mainly because we got to have a battery compartment in here. And the screen is a 160 by 152 reflective LCD screen. So basically this is one meant to be used in very strong light. Because of that, as you can see when I tilt it, it's actually kind of hard to film this thing. So I did the best I could with the recording of the videos here. So for some comparisons as to how big this is with other handhelds, we have a Sony PSP 3000 right here in the lovely Hannah Montana purple. And as you can see, the entire handheld is about the same size as the screen of the PSP 3000, although it's actually a pretty pretty small device. You can put it in your pocket pretty easily. It's actually a good bit thicker than the PSP 3000, but not too bad. For a little bit more modern comparison, here is the RG28XX from Anbernic. As you can see, it's almost exactly the same width, although the Anbernic is a little smaller and the Anbernic is certainly a lot thinner. So, games came on cartridges, and cartridges go in the slot on the back here. So basically when you put a game in here, turn it on, boots in a few seconds like a typical cartridge system. What does this run on? This runs on 2 AA batteries. And the nice thing about handhelds of this era is that compared to today's handhelds, they have pretty insane battery life. So these 2 AA's will get you 40 hours of gameplay. Of course, the disadvantage is once these AA's are dead, then you have to throw them away and buy new ones. So That's why we like our rechargeables now, so we don't have to keep consuming these batteries. But about 40 hours of gameplay on these. And this handheld also has a real-time clock. So behind here, and you open this with a coin. I have my handy 1 yen coin to open this thing up. You can see, if I can get this thing off, a CR2032 battery, which will hold the time and settings for a while. Eventually this will die, but it takes a while. So, actually I took out the battery so you can see it wants me to set it up again. Well, it actually remembered. So since I took the battery out, of course it wanted to reset everything. But if you boot this up without a game in it, actually in my case, just booting up entirely, it comes up to a menu screen. And if you would like to see what the menus look like, there's a calendar, horoscope, world time, alarm. We'll take a quick tour of the menu system of this device. So let's take a quick look at the controls of the Neo Geo Pocket Color. And as you can see, the controls are fairly basic. This system doesn't have any kind of shoulder buttons. It has an 8-way micro switch joystick, very clicky device. I don't know if you can hear it from there, but let's see. Maybe you could hear it then. So it does make a little bit of noise while you're playing. We have the basic, pretty solid feeling buttons here. We have power, we have option. But other than that, that's pretty much it for the controls. And up at the top, we have an actual port here that you can hook up a link cable that allows you to play two-player games with other people that have a Neo Geo Pocket Color. Of course, these days that may be difficult to come by. We have a volume control on the bottom, which is good old analog volume control. So no digital levels here, as you can see. We have a power jack for a little AC adapter, and we have a headphone jack. And as you might have heard in the menus video, and you'll probably hear in the gameplay video, unfortunately, at least in mine, the output quality of the headphones leaves a little bit to be desired, and it you'll hear a little bit of a staticky sound when you listen to some of the gameplay videos. Well, couldn't do much about that. I tried a different cable, but it was probably just that mine has a little bit noisy volume output here, although the speaker's kind of okay, so I usually don't use the headphones with this anyway. But I really do like the controls here. They have a nice arcadey feel, which of course is not surprising in the slightest, since SNK, of course, is kind of known for being an arcade manufacturer with their Neo Geo systems. And kind of like playing the games here because there's something about playing on this arcade-like little mini stick here that's a little missing from playing the same game on an emulation handheld like the RG28XX. But what I'd like to do now is let's show off a little bit of gameplay footage. I have 6 of my 7 games. I've recorded a little bit of footage from each one, so we'll take a look at those. If you'd like to see longer versions, I've only put about 30 seconds for each game into the video here, but if you'd like to see longer versions of the gameplay, you're welcome to check out the Chemical Burrito YouTube channel in the Neo Geo Pocket Color playlist. I put a long video. It's like 20 minutes of gameplay instead of 3 minutes. So if you'd like to check out a little bit longer form gameplay on the Neo Geo Pocket Color, it's there for you. But right now, let's take a look at some of the gameplay. So, what can we say about the Neo Geo Pocket Color? Well, it was probably doomed at the start because it was competing with Nintendo's very, very popular Game Boy Color. Now, just in case you're wondering, you may have noticed on the screen as you can see by me just tilting it up and down. Like I said, it's very hard to film this thing, at least on my camera. But you may have noticed a little bit of mosaic effect on some of the gameplay videos. That's an artifact of the camera. The screen actually looks pretty darn good in very bright light. So you take this thing outside, put it in play in the sun, it looks great. So this is actually a pretty nice screen, even though the camera footage doesn't necessarily do it justice. But of course, I think in the marketplace, this thing was kind of doomed because Nintendo was just too big of a force to compete with, particularly for a company that was way smaller like SNK was. And if you look back at the history, they were kind of in financial trouble anyway before they even released this thing. So, it wasn't going to last very long. Turns out it didn't last very long at all, but it's still a nice handheld to play around with. If you can score one of these things, you'll probably have fun with it, particularly if you can get some of the better games like the fighting games, although those aren't my favorite games on here. But if you can get this game here, the Sonic Pocket Adventure, it's actually really good. And the Pac-Man port, you think, oh, it's a very, very old arcade game, but it actually is very good here on the Neo Geo Pocket Color. So, and you hardly ever have to put batteries in it. 2 AA's will last you forever. So, I hope you've enjoyed this little kind of trip down memory lane if you had one of these handhelds back in the early 2000s, or if you just haven't seen one of these things. I hope you've enjoyed taking a look at one of maybe the lesser known of the classic handhelds out there. So if you enjoyed the video, please remember to like, subscribe to the channel, and I will hopefully see you guys for the next video.